welcome back to another video, guys. I see my subscriber count just keeps inching towards that 500. And remember, if I get 500 subs before mid-November, I will go ahead and buy a GT3 next year. And I don't want to do that, guys. So don't subscribe. You guys keep doing it anyway. You know, despite me telling you no, it just keeps on happening anyways. So today we're going to talk about owning this Range Rover for the last 3 years and what sort of troubles I've gotten into with it. You know, if you look anywhere, it's going to tell you don't buy a Range Rover. And I pretty much agree with them. But I mean, if you've driven one of these, you know how well they drive. It is so comfortable, and you're in your own little cocoon on the road. So it's going to give you a lot of headache, but it's worth it if you're handy and can do a lot of repairs yourself, like I am, or you just don't care about money, which isn't on brand for this channel. I care about money, so I try to do the repairs myself. So this truck has given me a few problems over the years. The first sort of thing that came up was this passenger door here. So the door lock no longer functioned, and when you'd hit the remote, it would just give you the beep like something was wrong, and it was this door lock, had failed. So I bought a new door lock. Well, I bought a used door lock, pulled off of a salvage truck, and it was like 60 or 70 bucks. I bought it off eBay. And I sort of sat on that door lock for like a year. I had it in the garage and I never put it on. I was afraid it was going to be kind of a huge pain in the butt job, so I didn't want to mess with it. I had the part and I was like, on a rainy day, I'll go ahead and do it. But I can say it actually wasn't that bad. So all you had to do is take the door panel off and pull the window out, which, I mean, it takes a few hours to do it. I think it probably was all in the job for maybe 3 or 4 hours, but getting that door lock replaced, now the doors all lock and unlock as expected, and you don't have to manually, every time my wife got in, I would have to reach over and, unlock the door for her, which was a kind of a pain in the butt. So having replaced that is really good. So that was sort of the first thing that went wrong. The next thing that went wrong was the brake lines and the brakes, but that's more of a maintenance issue, not really a problem exactly. But I did replace pads and rotors on all four corners and the sensors. So, but when I was in there, I discovered I had a brake leak. Well, I actually discovered I had a brake leak before I did the brakes, because there was brake fluid not on these wheels. I was on a different set of wheels at the time, and I'll talk about these wheels in a bit later. But I noticed, because the wheel paint was just like falling apart because of how corrosive brake fluid is. So obviously I had to replace that brake line. So I replaced all the flexible brake hoses, and that wasn't too expensive. I think it was like $200 or $300 to get all the brake hoses. The actual brake parts themselves were a little more. I think that was like $750 or so for all of it. And the brakes on these are actually not too bad. It's a pretty easy job. But yeah, the brake hose was my next sort of major problem I had with it. And the next thing that went wrong was a horrible, nasty mildew smell. So, if you look online, these Range Rovers are pretty notorious for water intrusion. So this was no exception. So I actually had it in two places. The first would be this cowl. So this was no longer sealing. If you looked at it, and I'll put some pictures in here for you. The original cowl, it was just like dry rotted and totally pulled off the windshield. So it was no longer sealing, and water was just getting in. And obviously you can get into the HVAC system from there. So all that was bad. And then the major problem with water intrusion was actually on the sunroof, which is probably not a surprise to anybody. So the water would get in through the sunroof, and there's the net that like sort of pops up to block the wind. That net was just covered in mildew, and I would clean it all off, and then like 2 days later, it would just immediately be covered in mildew again. So I was like, we need to just get a new seal. And thankfully, they still make the seals for these. I was actually fortunate enough to find like a new one on eBay for like $60, which was very cheap. And that job wasn't too bad actually. You just have to take off the sunroof, which is like 4 torque screws and an hour, and you can have that new seal on there. So once I had that sunroof out, I did like a deep cleaning with a steamer and really got in all the nooks and crannies up there just to make sure that we're not going to have any mildew left over that will continue to smell in the future. Um, so other problems that I've had with this truck. Uh, in the winter, I've noticed that the front airbags, don't hold their height as well as they do in the summer. So I haven't actually replaced the front airbags yet. In the summer, like if I park it and leave it at normal ride height, it will stay all day at that height. But in the winter, those front bags do leak a little bit. So, eventually I might get in there and replace those bags, but they're still functioning enough now. And I don't hear like the compressor kicking on like a whole bunch. So I don't think it's too big of an issue. And then otherwise, I mean, this has been a pretty reliable truck. So I bought a vacuum pump to do my own oil changes. So I change my own oil in this every 5,000 miles with a liquid moly kit that I buy from FCP Euro. And I'll just bring the vacuum pump over here to show you guys what that vacuum pump looks like. So this makes changing the oil on these like so easy. You don't even have to raise the truck up. So I'm not gonna touch this because it's all oily, obviously. But you just hook this line up and there's a tube like in the fill port where you put the oil in, and you hook this up to it and then you just literally pump the oil out of it. So changing the oil in this with good quality oil on a very frequent schedule has this truck running like a top at 100,000 miles. There's like zero indication of any sort of ticking coming from the engine, so I'm not real concerned about the timing chains yet. I do intend to pretty much drive this thing into the ground. I haven't decided on if I want to like hopefully get another 50,000 miles out of it, uh, or do the chains and maybe get another 150,000 miles out of it. Maybe if you guys get me monetized, I'll take on this project myself. Maybe, who knows? I don't necessarily love the idea of doing the timing change because right now it's still got the factory sealed like magic in there, and the second you open things up, all bets are off on what's going to happen. But really, this truck hasn't given me that big of problems in terms of like drivability. Now let's talk about sort of like the mods that I've done on this to make it like look a little better. The first is these 22-inch Forge Star wheels. So these are 22 by 10. I don't remember the exact offset. I think it's plus 30 offset. So we're actually in access mode right now, and you can see that these wheels just fill out the gaps so nice. These tires are 285 40 22s. They're Toyo Proxies, and they don't have a lot of road noise. They grip nice. They do great in the rain. But more importantly, I mean, just look at the look of this truck with these wheels on it. Isn't that nice, guys? I mean, come on, that is so nice. Otherwise, the only other thing that was a problem with this that I had to address was the paint when I got it. There wasn't like any major damage to the paint, but the whole thing was swirled and it's black. So I spent like, I want to say like maybe 48 total hours on this thing, doing like a heavy cut compound on it, and then, a polish and a do-it-yourself ceramic coating. And you'll find that, I do a lot of my stuff like myself, do it yourself. If I can do it myself, I'm going to do it myself. That is how you get rich and stay rich, is by doing things yourself and saving money. So this truck is no exception. I wanted it to look really nice without spending like $2,000 to have a shop detail it. It's an old truck, so it really, $2,000 would have been eating into the cost of how much this thing actually is worth, right? So it cost me like $150 to detail it myself. And it's obviously dirty right now, but I'll drop some clips in of when this was just done and it was all shined up. and it is beautiful. This paint looks really nice. And I actually had the hood repainted recently. I had a rock chip that actually dented and like chipped off a huge amount on the hood near the Range Rover lettering. So this hood has been repainted. So maybe on this channel, I can repolish this hood and ceramic coat it because there is no coating on the hood right now. So maybe that's a future project for the channel. This Range Rover is my favorite car. I know that we have the Porsche and we have the M2 coming in, but even when those cars are here, guys, this, for me, this is the one. And it's not even like I would want a newer Range Rover. It's like this particular Range Rover, this boxy, brawny Range Rover is what you think. Like when my Sweet 16 came out on MTV forever ago, like this is the truck that you would see like those teenagers getting. And to me, it's like the classic look when you think Range Rover. Right now, they're getting softer and more technology packed into them, which is going to be more problems. But these old classic ones, I mean, just can't be beat in the looks department. I think they truly look great. One other little mod I did was some LEDs in the fog lights. So they operate as daytime running lights, and they have LED fog lights too. And we're going to take you on an interior tour of this right now too. Bear with me, it's dirty. Vanessa ran a marathon. I don't know if you saw my short, but Vanessa ran a marathon. Yeah, so when Vanessa ran that marathon, basically, it got a lot of people and a lot of stuff was inside here, so it got really dirty. But here's what the inside looks like. You know, this truck is a 2012, so 13 years old, and it's still quite nice in here. Right now it smells like this air freshener, but when I don't have an air freshener in here, you can still smell like a rich leather smell inside here. And again, this truck, when you're on the road, just drives like nothing else, just totally comfortable. Let me know if you guys want to see any more content on the Range Rover. Again, this is my favorite truck, so if you guys hype this thing up and want to see something else about it, I would love that, because this is my favorite truck. And again, I think that's all we're going to have for today's video. Please don't subscribe. I'm getting so close to 500. If I get it, Vanessa's going to get mad at me. You don't want that, guys. You do not want to see Vanessa mad at me because I buy a GT3 whenever, you know, we just bought her a car too, and she doesn't want us spending our money. And I don't want us spending our money either. So, you know, if you do hit it, you better get me monetized so I don't get in trouble, guys. You know, so don't subscribe. Like the video, please. Share the video. View it up all day. Don't subscribe yet.